everybody, welcome along to VSL F1 Season 10, round number 6 of the Championship. We're almost done with the first half of the season. We head to Portugal, one of my favourite circuits for the Portuguese Grand Prix. My name is Jespel, and joining me by my side again this evening, we've got Aidan Carter. Aidan, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, Jess. Thank you very much. Yeah, looking forward to tonight once again. It's been a fairly interesting first half to the season. There's been lots of up and down seasons, and Portimao could be a really good way to wrap off the first half of the season. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, first years in Formula 1 properly back in 2020 when COVID hit as well, and then it became a thing on the F1 game, and the F1 fans loved it so much that it's been on the F1 game ever since 2020, even though it hasn't been on the F1 calendar. We'll look at the standings pretty quickly as well, and a few changes from last week. Tam getting his first win on 100 points at the moment. Now you see Jinx in the standings, he's left the server after what happened last week, and I don't think he's going to come back racing in VSL, which is a bit of a shame, but that means the championship has got a big gap between himself and Yarham. Then we got Charlie Harris, who's also left the server. He's got a race ban, so he'll be joining us after his race suspension, but due to his antics in Hungary, due to crashing out on purpose. Mata, 49 points. He could overhaul Charlie Harris today. Simon Palmer on 39, Casper on 36, Vatesy on 34, and Luke on 34. Luke's not here tonight either. And yeah, showing the championship is not that close at the moment, but it's great for Tam, also known as Twisted tonight, because he changed his gamer tag without us knowing, for Twisted to finally get his win.
Yeah, finally got his first win on the board. He had a really good start to the season, didn't he? The first 3 rounds, he was running pretty much on the podium in every single one of the first 3 rounds. Had a bit of a rough patch at round 4, but bounced back brilliantly last week. He dominated the sprint and the feature race, and never looked like the win was in doubt for Twisted, as we will now call him. So yeah, brilliant result for him last week, and exactly what he needed. And I think great for him as well that he was able to keep out of all the carnage that we had last week. I don't know if for the people that didn't tune into last week, maybe don't go back and watch the Hungary race, because it was a little bit messy. There was quite a few incidents in that race, mainly on the 2 Mercs and Charlie Harris, which is why both the Mercs are not here tonight and likely are to not return, and Charlie Harris has got a race ban. So yeah, a bit of a messy race unfortunately in Budapest last time out, but what that has done is, like you mentioned, it has kind of split the championship up just that little bit. So there's a bit of a gap now between Tam and Yarham. There's a race win between the 2 of them, and then there's a bit of a gap back then to the next driver who's racing tonight, which is Mata. So yeah, a few things to look out for tonight championship wise, but hopefully it all starts to close up a bit again before we get to the break in the middle of the season.
Yes, indeed. We've got people on their laps now currently as well. It's sunny at the moment. Situated in Elgato, this circuit, after the Port City sits in half an hour of as well. And Ayrton Senna used to race here when he was racing in Europe as well. So back in the day where Ayrton Senna was a legend in motorsport, he still is a well-known legend to the sport. Has had many F1 victories, pole positions, championships as well, and obviously has done quite a bit of practicing around it. I wonder which drivers will do best around there. As Yarham passes turn 6 and 7. His quick right-hander breaking into turn 8 is very tricky because that apex can be very blinding as well as you go up the hill. Turn 9 as well, where good vision is critical around here. Uphill section coming up next to turn 10 and 11. Aim to the right, you can just run a little bit wide through there. But I'm seeing Yarham's not taking that much curb at the moment, but I'm sure he will, I think, probably towards the end of his lap. And then heading towards turn 12 and onto the left-hand hairpin at turn 13. You've got to be careful on the outside because it's like a roller coaster heading towards the final few corners. Turn 14, a bit off camber, and finally turn 15, a very high-speed right-hand as you head towards the start-finish straight. What's it going to be? In his provisional pole position, 117.3. I think we could see 117s tonight. G-Matt Ben, who is reserving for one of the Mercedes tonight, he goes up to the line. And can he get pole position? No, 118.1 for him, which puts him into P7. So that's most of the laps so far. We got Ewan on his out lap at the moment, and the usual suspect at the top of the standings with Yarham in P1 this time instead of Twisted.
Yeah, usual suspects, like you say, those two have been really good in qualifying in race trim all season long. Have Johan and Twisted, and Johan's on a bit of a run of form at the moment, isn't he? He started off the season with a solid, I believe, fifth place in the first round, and since then he's steadily upped his points tally in every race. It was 10 points each for the first two rounds, and then he's gone to 15, and then to 18 for a third place finish at round four, and now he's up to 22 after last week. So Johan's been steadily on the rise as of recently. He's just getting better and better as the season goes on, and yeah, doing a good job. And the two of them as well at the moment, 4/10 clear of the next car, which is Tech 31. So quite a way away from the rest of the pack at the moment. Of course, still got a few cars yet to set their lap times. Juan's just coming through the lap on him at the moment. I think he's on his lap at the moment. Yes, he is. So we can keep an eye on what Juan's going to do. Juan had a really good run at the start of the season. Didn't have a great first round. Second round of the season though in Miami, if I remember correctly, was really strong. Had a great race and finished up in fourth place, but since then hasn't really done much in the championship and has been on a little bit of a slow decline. So hopefully for tonight, Juan can maybe recover some of those points that he's maybe lost in the last few rounds.
Yep, he's just about to finish his lap now then. Kai is sitting 11th for one of the only few drivers not set a lap time yet. It's a shame that he hasn't pulled some good performances so far, because when he joined mid last season, he was doing really well, but maybe obviously a lot more people are used to the game. There's a lot more people that were very keen to improve, but Ewan currently slots himself into P9 with a 1 minute 17.908. So matching the pace of Kieran, Tech as well, and Twisted and Johan on a different level as well. And we got to touch on a few other drivers as well, because there's a few drivers that I think stood out for me pace-wise, got their best results of the season. Could have been a P2 for Speed 9, but he spun in the middle of turn 1. We commentators cursed him to no end, which was a bit gutting. It was, to be fair, it is one of his favourite tracks on the game, Hungary, so it wasn't really a surprise to see him up there. He had a good start as well, and he's moved himself up to not last in the standings now, but into P17 in the standings. I want to see how well he does around Portugal as well, because he could use his momentum from last week, that maybe even after that spin he still managed to get 10 points maybe, and you can forget the troubles he's had at the beginning of this season. Aston Martin really need to use some inspiration from their real-life counterparts at the moment, because without that, Aston Martin are not going to be doing very well in the championship.
No, they've kind of struggled, haven't they? You can't say that they've had a lack of speed, because they've been featuring inside the top 10 for a lot of the season, both Knighton and Iceman. I remember, of course, first round of the season, I think they were running 4th and 5th in the early phases of the first round of the season before an incident for Knighton took him out of the points, and Iceman couldn't quite get the full result that he would have wanted. But yeah, since then it's been a bit of a nightmare, unfortunately, for Aston Martin since that first round. They really haven't shown anything since then. Like you mentioned, Knighton did get his first points on the board, but again, a mistake in the race cost him what could have been a comfortable podium position for him. And since the first round of the season for Iceman's not scored since, so it's been a real rough run of it for the Aston Martin team, and it isn't really reflective of what Aston Martin are doing in real life, which is very much scoring as maximum as they can. So yeah, we'll see if they can improve tonight. Of course, Iceman's not here, sadly, but Knighton is, so we'll keep an eye on him. We'll see, like you say, if he can build on some of that momentum, as Waitsy's crossed the line in the Alfa Romeo to go P6 for the time being, but I did catch a mistake for him coming out of, I believe, turn number 10, so got to keep an eye on him. There is definitely a lot more time on the board for the Alfa Romeo, and Waitsy's another one you've got to say, kind of similar, as Twisted now goes up to the top of the timesheets on a 0.15. Waits is another one who hasn't quite fulfilled his potential so far this season. He's been fast all season long. He had a pretty decent score last time out in Hungary, but again, he's another one that's been running up in the top 5 in a lot of the races that we've had so far, and either made strategy mistakes or had a spin and cost himself points. So Waits is another one where I think P9, where he currently sits in the championship, isn't quite fully reflective of the pace that Waits has shown so far this season.
Yeah, I think he was just unlucky with the incident as well, because there was that big incident that caused, obviously, a race ban for some people as well, and it was just a shame, because he was trying to avoid the carnage. He didn't, and he got front wing damage, and still was another driver to come back, which shows he had the pace. And imagine without that carnage where he would have been. And in that feature race, he pulled off a very good strategy as well. So Batesy kind of sitting in P7. He's got the pace in him. He's got a pole position to his name. I believe that was in the Austria sprint race. But in the feature race, obviously turn 1, happened as well. And hopefully tonight he can prove himself. There's only 14 drivers today. Quite a lot of these drivers, I would have to say, are clean drivers in general. He's raced with quite a lot of them before. The ones who have probably caused trouble are not here tonight. So maybe this could be a clean slate for Ratesy at the moment. We've got a few people on laps at the moment. We've got J. Luke, reserve at the moment. Don't be confused by ERT Luke, of course. Two very different people. As I had to fill in on Aiden's confusion earlier on. No, J. Luke is not ERT Luke. J. Luke's Jamie, believe it or not. Two completely different people, and ERT Luke is still in ERT. So there we go. So J. Luke, who I've raced with in Portugal before, has done quite well in the past with his laps. I'm surprised to see him up there in P11. I was expecting him to be near the top, but there are some quicker drivers in this division. So, and he's purple in sector 2, so maybe he's got that fire that I see in him in Portugal. So let's just hope he doesn't get involved in any spins. Saying that now, I probably jinxed him for life for tonight. But anyway, J-Luke up to the line. Is it going to be enough for provisional pole position? The answer to that is, oh no, but 2 tenths off of pole. That is a good lap time from J-Luke there. Anyone else on lap? His teammate for tonight, GMAT, is in 10th. I didn't see how he was in the middle sector. So but I think his lap is not looking the best right now, but he does improve to P9. So there we go. Some times on the board to be improving as well. Simon Palmer down in 11, Matter down in 12. A lot of people need to pick up the pace here. Cam, I feel like, can improve as well. Cam was another one that got very unlucky last week.
Yeah, Cam, another one, like you say, unlucky last week. And Cam's been unlucky a few times this season, but at the same time has made quite a few mistakes. Again, he's another one. P6 in the standings doesn't sound that bad, but when you think back to rounds like the second round of the season, the first sprint race, of course, that we had this season in Austria, he completely dominated pretty much that entire event. And other than that, he's not scored, other than that domination that he had in Austria, he's not scored more than 4 points in one round, including the sprint last week. So he's had a rough season, has Cam, by his pace's standards, and there's definitely a lot more in it for Cam so far. And that is a good lap from J. Luke, like you mentioned as well. That's kind of the first driver we've seen get close to the X pairing at the top of the timesheets in Twisted and Yarham. So decent lap there from J. Luke. We'll see what you can do in his final run, whether you can find any more time. Matter was on a lap on the medium compound tyres, but of course didn't improve. Cam did his first one on the medium compound tyres as well, which I'm a little bit surprised by why they would use the mediums in qualifying. I think it's not really necessary, and there's no real benefit for doing it at this point in qualifying. I think if we were running full qualifying, then it may be worth it, but right now I don't think it is. And it's Portugal. I think we're very unlikely to see safety cars around a track like Portugal because the runoff and the space between the track and the barriers on pretty much every corner is absolutely massive. So you're very unlikely to see people hitting the barriers here unless they've had a massive crash. So I think, yeah, maybe using the mediums wasn't really worth it for them in the qualifying session, but we'll see. Maybe they just needed something to give themselves a little bit more confidence going into this. And Cam, I think, is on to his final run now, actually. So he's gone out a little bit earlier than everybody else for their final run, as Twisted has retired on the track coming out of turn number 4. I think he just started his final run in the session. I don't know if he's spun and crashed the car or whether he's just retired, but by the way the car's looking, that's a crash. So Twisted, currently sitting on pole position, going for a final run in quali a little bit early, and has spun the car out of turn 4 and is out of the session. So that's unlucky for Twisted. He's going to hope that nobody else improves and beats him as Waitsy now crosses the line to go P3 in the Alfa Romeo.
Yes, I have to say, Waitsy doing a good job so far in that Alfa Romeo car, and maybe he's just found that motivation that, you know what, the troublemakers are gone, maybe I can improve a little bit more, and he definitely has, and he's not that far behind J-Luke and Yarham either, so we can have a close battle on our hands for those positions. And you know what, I'm very, very excited for those prospects. As Simon Palmer, he's a driver who always messages me every week with assumptions or how he's going to do in the race, and he's saying that Red Bull is hoping for another strong result, and he feels like his teammate is a lot quicker than him. Well, it does predictions dictate. That is the case at the moment, as Cam, the first man into the 116s in qualifying. So with that clear track that he's got, I have to say that is pretty amazing stuff for the Williams driver. Could this be the race where he's back on form? We'll have to wait and see, as TEP 31 Racing is about to start his run. J-Luke's about to start his run as well, both in very close succession. I'm surprised a lot of them going out now, and the clouds are getting a bit darker. Maybe, could we see some rain at the end of quali?
Yeah, I did wonder why some people were going out so early for their final runs, but maybe that is why his Waitsy's retired in the pit lane, so he's not even going to bother coming out for a final run in this session. So maybe that suggests that it is going to rain at some point in this quali session. And I'm betting right now Twisted is absolutely gutted that he just crashed, because he had provisional pole for the whole session, and now his teammate has gone and stolen it away from him. We don't know whether Twisted had more in the tank that he could have maybe tried to find. Yarham's just starting his final run in the session as well as Matter, so they've crossed the line now to start their final runs. Knighton has invalidated, so his time will not stand, and his time at the moment not really representative of his pace at all. So if Casper can get a time on the board, Knighton will likely start this race from the very back of the grid. I'm just trying to see who's going to be the first to finish a lap. It was going to be Simon Palmer, but Simon Palmer went for a second run on the same set of softs and had no ERS at the start of the lap, so unfortunately for Simon Palmer, he wasn't really ever going to improve on that lap, sadly. So that's his session over and done with. So it does look like it's going to be Tech 31, but Tech 31 has backed off now in the AlphaTauri, so he's not going to be improving on his time either, and neither is Dewan. I think Dewan's also had a spin at some point in the lap as well, potentially, or is he... Actually, no, Dewan's just coming to start his final run, so Dewan's going to be the last to cross the line to start the run. J. Luke is invalidated, Tech 31 is invalidated, everybody's making mistakes, Speed Knight is invalidated. Nobody's really getting their final run together. GMAC really slow in the first sector, and I think that's Yarham that's backed off. Yep, Yarham's backed off as well. So pretty much everybody is making mistakes in these final runs of qualifying. Nobody at the moment seems to be on a lap that's good enough. GMAC slightly improving the middle sector, but that's the only person I can see that's improving.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually, because usually we're used to more people setting times, but maybe Portugal is a track where we've seen in other leagues where they haven't improved towards the end, so maybe it's the case here at VSL. So GMAP up to the line, not quite pole position.
He didn't improve.
He didn't improve. No. He lost it in the final sector. Can he find time in the final few minutes if he has enough ERS left? Ewan has lost time in the first sector, so he's going to find a miraculous middle sector. Kieran didn't see what his middle sector is like. Well, no, he's about to start one. My bad. But Ewan is purple sector 2, according to my calculations. So Ewan then, a man that we said we want to do well. Well, he's coasting in 9th and is looking good so far. But this is the final set raid, and it can make you or break you. So Ewan up to the line. Is it going to be enough for a good position? It moves him up to 7th. He found a few tenths per second, so it's good that he is improving. Only man who's on fresh tyres at the moment, on a fresh tyre one, is Kieran, and he's only 9 thousandths down on his previous best. So, it's raining. It's raining. Yep. So Cam is on pole, it looks like, and that's why they've gone out so early. That explains it.
Yeah, that definitely explains it. Kieran's has definitely left it too late, unfortunately, in the McLaren. We'll see him through the middle sector split, whether the rain's actually making any sort of effect on the ground itself, whether it's actually making the track slippier yet, but it does look fairly heavy, so I doubt we're going to be seeing Kieran improve here as he crosses the second sector split. Yeah, he's 4.5 tenths down, so yeah. Kieran's already losing time, so his quali is over and done with 9th at the best he can hope for, and just as it is in other leagues that we commentate on, the final runs end up being a bit of an anticlimax. It always seems to happen, doesn't it? Everybody seems to get their best runs in. Oh, Yarham as well. Yarham was on a run and was only 400ths down at the end of the second sector, but I think the rain has caught him out at the final corner and he's just lost the car coming up to the line. So Yarham's not going to improve on 3rd either. Yeah, DRS is disabled. Rain's completely coming down now. So that is the end of the qualifying. Again, a bit of an anticlimax, but yet again, we've seen it before this season and we've seen it again. It's a Williams front row lockout.
Not that surprising, to be honest. That's why they're doing well in the constructors. I think we're just waiting. I think Pete is trying, bless him, but you can see the track is already damp already. It has got damp very, very quickly. I wonder if it's going to be wet for the race. I'll need to ask the drivers that at this moment in time. I shouldn't have really gone through the standings in the last before we went into qualifying. We should have waited until now with the 2-minute break, but oh well, never mind. We could talk about some other things, some other drivers who we can see some surprises today and who needs to improve. Pete is last out of the runner, so he's a driver that really needs to improve. And I've never seen a track get this wet this quickly. Have you?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. It's come down very, very quickly. That's ridiculously quick that the rain has come down. So not a surprise we saw so many people go out so quickly at the end of that session. And yeah, that's a shame for Knighton. Just, I guess, wrong place, wrong time. Didn't get out for that final run in time. And never really got a representative time on the board, which is a real shame for them. Kind of the same for Simon Palmer as well. We never really got to see their full potential because they left it too late for their final runs. So yeah, a few people a little bit out of position in that grid slot, but still the grid we've got in the top 5, or even the top 6 really at least, does look like it's going to make for a very interesting race.
Yes, we'll run through your order then for today's race. We've got Cam on pole, Twisted in second with a Williams front row. We got Johan and Racy on the second row, Jaylee Kuntek on the third row, Ewan and Keza in the fourth row, Kieran and GMAC on the fifth row. Then we got Matt on 11th, Casper 12th, Simon Palmer 13th, and Speed Knighton in 14th position. And we didn't need to scroll this week, which was always a good thing. But we are about to going into the race then, and we'll see whether the weather presents itself as either dry or wet. I hope it's dry, because otherwise it's going to cause, I think, chaos for the drivers. But since the track has only been in the game for like only a little bit due to the new update, it's probably into the unknown for certain drivers, isn't it?
Yeah, I think definitely, because this is a track that doesn't feature obviously on the real life calendar, and it wasn't in the game at launch, then you're not going to see a lot of people have practice on this track or race on this track in any shape. So for a lot of people, it is going to be a new endeavour, and you've got to kind of remember back to the last game that it was on, obviously 21. The main problem with this track was overheating, wasn't it? At the very end of a run, it was incredibly easy to overheat the tyres, especially in that final sector of the lap. That's one. Obviously, this track is so good racing side by side because we have so many long corners and long sweeping apexes, but that, of course, isn't great on the tyres. So we did see a lot of that on the previous game, and that is, of course, with these new 18-inch rims, something that's definitely transferred over onto these games as well. So the tyre temperature is definitely going to be a bit of an issue, I think, for some drivers tonight. Although looking by with the screen we're currently looking at right now, it looks a little bit cloudy. It's not raining, but it does look a bit cloudy, so that may help just a little bit with some people with their tyre temperatures. But either way, it's going to be difficult. I think we could see a few people in that last sector maybe coming a cropper to their tyre temperatures and having a few spins potentially. Yeah,
we could see, I think, people with a mixture of tyre strategies. We saw that in the last couple of races. Hungary probably be one of the exceptions, but I think there's going to be quite a few people on the mediums to start with. I think I see one of the Mercedes people got some mediums to them as well. I have a Red Bull that has got a hard compounded tyre on as well, but I can't see the other garages. They're blocked for us. So yeah, we only know what two cars are doing, and we don't know which Red Bull it is and which Mercedes it is as well. So they might change their mind at the last minute. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see, of course. But obviously, with the first half of the season almost coming to an end as well, we have to talk about the first half of the season and how people have managed to adapt to the sprint races, because we obviously had Hungary as a weird entity as well. We had Austria as well. The next sprint race we got is Monza, which I think is quite traditional for a sprint race, let's just say, but that's not till round 9. We got Australia to kick off the second half of the season in 2 weeks as well. I think there's some very hard tracks coming up, and I think it takes some skill for people to do well, and I think Tex just left the session. That's not good, but yeah, I think we got some technical circuits coming up next, and drivers will need a lot of skill for it.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you mentioned with Monza, that definitely is a bit of a staple for this sprint race, and I think kind of over the past time in real life, I think Monza's probably been the best, maybe probably one of the best, if not the best advocate for sprint races to continue going along with Sao Paulo, hasn't it? I mean, the sprint races that we've had at Monza, I think obviously back to 2021, that was one of the rounds that had a sprint race, and that was, of course, a really, really great weekend where we, of course, saw that anomaly in the McLaren 1-2, and the only time it seemed that Ricciardo really succeeded at McLaren, which was a bit of a shame. But yeah, I think Monza is not a surprise to see that there, see a sprint race in Monza. I think it's an easy track to overtake on. It allows for people to make up places in the sprint race. We did say at the time that I think Hungary was a bit of a surprise to see as a sprint race, because you don't traditionally see that as an overtaking track. So yeah, bit of a surprise to see that one, but yeah, not a surprise for Monza. And of course, Brazil, the last round of the season, is also a sprint race. Again, not a surprise. That's a great track for sprint racing. So yeah, not a surprise to see that, but we have got some difficult ones coming up. Like you say, Australia in 2 weeks' time with the newly remodeled circuit is very bumpy. It's difficult, high speed as well, very easy to make mistakes. We've got China as well, another track similar to Portugal, where people won't have raced on it that much because it was a DLC update. And then of course we've got Monaco at some point later in this season as well, which I think a lot of drivers are slightly dreading.
Yes, I think we're not dreading as commentators. I'm looking forward to commentating that track. I hate racing it, by the way. I've got a race there in about a couple of weeks' time. But luckily, that's my last race in Monaco on this game. So I can forget about racing that track after that. But the drivers are on their formation lap now. 33 laps await our drivers. And we got a mixture of tyres as a surprise, actually. We got one driver on the softs, that's Speed Knighton. Didn't think he'll be on the softs early on as well. Hopefully you remember it's not a two-stop race. You can only do one stop. But according to the alternate strategy, you can go on the softs for 9 laps. But optimally, you can only last 7. So it can work. You never know. But we've got the likes of Twisted, Yarham. No, not Yarham. Yarham's on the halves. We've got Twisted, Ratesy, we got Tech, Ewan, Keza, Kieran, GMAT, and Simon Palmer on the mediums. We got Casper, Matter, we got J-Luke, Yarham, and our Pulsar Cam on the hards. Good to see a mixture of these tyres. It's a bit of a mystery sometimes as to whether you prefer the hards or the mediums around this track. Personally, the hards I find to be a pretty decent tyre around it. It's not too bad. But there may be some people that do prefer the mediums around it just to get a bit of an early start as well. But there's certain tracks where you got to rely on your qualifying to do well. And just because you're like P2 on the mediums, it may not necessarily do you good. But we know Twisted, he's quick. He may get a good launch off the line. So we'll see what the medium runners can do. We'll see what the hards runners can do as well. We've got Matter down in 11th, Casper down in 12th. We've seen them come down up the order in the previous races. In particular, the last one, Matter and Casper doing very well in their last races. And yeah, should be interesting. I think as Cam almost had an off there. Hope he doesn't do that in the race.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, we want to see an interesting fight, and I think it's smart for both the Williams to split their strategies. We know they've got the pace, I think, on either strategy to do well, so to split it is probably quite smart. For J. Luke, Yarham, and Cam on the opening couple of laps is very crucial for these hard runners at the front of the field. It's to see how high they can keep themselves in the field or whether they fall down the order. Of course, it is easy to overtake here, so the medium runners could be straight past them. I think for Matter and Casper, they're fine at the back. They've not really got much to lose. Starting on the harder tyres at the back makes a lot more sense, so hopefully for them they can latch onto the back of the medium runners early on.
Okay, we're about to get underway then. Casper has been disqualified from the formation lap. He didn't get to his grid slot correctly. Everyone else is fine then, as we are about to await the 5 red lights here at VSL F1. 3, 4, 5 lights. Cam's on pole with Twisted alongside, and we are underway then as they all go down the hill towards turn 1. And Twisted, as expected, gets a lightning start. So does Waitsy as well. He's trying to get past Yarham down the inside. Tech has left the session again. Ewan's had a good start. Kieran's had a good start. Kez trying to go down the inside in towards turn 3, and he does that very, very well. But Ewan cuts back into towards turn 4 and keeps position from Kieran as well. Knighton's up his 12th place. So his choice to go on the soft tyres has worked wonders so far. A lot of moving and shaking in the background as well. J-Luke now back up to 4th. Kalna up to 2nd again. I have to say, Twisted is already pulling away. He's continuing his form from last week, and I like it.
Yeah, that was a brilliant start. All bit of contact further down. Dewan just using the rear of the car at turn 8. That's a bit of a pinch point for some of the drivers. He just lost the rear and tap Waitsy, but they both got away with it, so they can continue on. Great start for J-Luke on the hard compound tyres. Really strong start. He's managed to go up rather than down. So great start for J-Luke on those. Yarham as well. Yarham, of course, was ahead of Cam. Managed to fall back behind. I don't really know what happened to Cam at the start. I don't know if it was just mega wheel spin, whether he reacted to the lights really late, but Twisted was past him before they got to the dip. He was so far clear of his teammate well up the line. So perfect dream start for Twisted, and being on the mediums, this is exactly what Twisted need in the opening stages of this race, is to be this far ahead early on, and he's at the fastest lap as you would expect. And look at the top 4. The top 4 have really gapped the rest of the field. Waitsy's struggling a bit on these mediums. I don't know if there's potentially some damage on this Alfa Romeo that we can't see, because he is being re-caught by Dewan and Kieran, and they're going to go 3 wide into turn 1, and Waitsy's going to lose 2 places on the apex of turn 1. Dewan gets down the inside, Kieran goes around the outside, and Waitsy's now down to 7th. I don't know if there's potentially some damage on that Alfa Romeo we can't see, because he drops so far back of the hard runners in front of him, and now he's been overtaken by Dewan and Kieran behind, and then Keza will be next. Speed Knighton, by the way, up to 9th. He's had a great start on those soft compound tyres, so for the opening phases at least, those softs have worked nicely for the Aston Martin driver.
Yes, it does, and maybe it's a track where he also does well. It has similar characteristics to Hungary in a way, but it has more elevation changes anyway. But maybe he has done a bit more practice for these types of tracks. Don't forget, obviously, there are other leagues that he can compete in as well, where Portugal was a prominent feature in the calendar. So obviously, if you're racing these tracks more often, you're going to get better the more races you race on. And I think that's what Pete has definitely shown at the moment in 9th position. And no DRS trains at the front because Twisted is falling away, Cam's falling away, Yarham is falling away ever so slightly as unfortunately that becomes the second race in the row where I've jinxed Speed Knighton. So I think I owe Speed Knighton some money after this race because this is the second time I jinxed him in a row now. So yeah, he had a good start, now he's down to 14th after that spin.
Yeah, that's a real shame for Speed Knight, and all that progress that he'd made is dropped down. As Yarham's made a mistake coming out of turn number 3. He's dropped behind J-Luke. I don't know what's happened to Yarham on the previous lap. He was all over the back. Oh, now Casper spun on the hard compound tyres as well. I think some of these hard runners are really struggling to get their hards up to temperature. Yarham now under pressure from Juwan's trying to go around the outside. They make a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but they just about get away with it. Yarham was all over the back of Cam at the end of the opening lap, and then he dropped a second and a half off, and now he's made a mistake and dropped down to 4th. So Yarham, at least on these last few laps, really struggling to get those hards up to temperature. Cam seems to be the only one really getting them up to temperature. He's kind of leveling the pace out now with his teammate. Here comes Juwan down the inside of turn number 10. He's going to get the move done this time around on Yarham, and Yarham's going to try and go back around the outside at turn 11 and into turn 12. That's a risky overtaking opportunity, but I don't think he can quite do it. Doesn't look like he has the grip to pull that off. Juwan will have the inside line for turn number 13. Yarham's going to try and use the momentum around the outside to go past, but he thinks better of it. He's going to try and get the move done down the straight, I believe, back past the AlphaTauri. But yeah, Yarham really struggling on the hards to get them up to temperature. Casper's had a spin as well. J-Luke is now 4 seconds off the Williams pair, who have completely disappeared up the road, and they look like they're in their own league. So already we're only 4 laps in, and it's already looking like a 2-horse race between the 2 Williams.
Yep, it looks like it, doesn't it? But that doesn't mean we're not going to have any battles midfield, as Yarham is past Ewan again up to 4th. So I think this could be a scrappy battle between the pair of them. I think they're both equal in terms of maybe straight line speed. So let's watch Ewan now then. He's got ERS. He's not going to get his overtake just yet as he heads towards turn 5 of Torre VIP as well. He's got ever so close. Ratesy's ever so close as well. There's a big DRS train. Ratesy is going to be trying to be very, very brave here on the exit of 7. But you can see Kieran's straight line speed, I have to say, is a lot better at the moment. And it's kind of a roller coaster type of a track. And we have to remember the last time Portugal held a Grand Prix before 2020 was back in 1996. Damon Hill winning at that time as well. And doing quite well indeed to obviously win the title that year. So, and obviously there were many times in 98, 4 to 96, 13 times. He was a host at Monsanto at one point as well. Alain Prost won the most races around here as well. So he's going to make a record here tonight as Keza goes down the inside of Ratesy into the final corner. So Ratesy struggling a bit more as he's going into the pits. So, yeah, a bit early, I'm guessing. That could mean that we could see some rain, or we might have got some damage on the process as well. But we'll jump back to the battles up front as GMAT that was lucky for GMAT that he didn't go into a spin, because if I touched that curb, it'll be sent in for spin as well. But it may depend on my setup. And Racy has gone for the hards this early on. I'm not sure if he got damage there, but we'll see if he gets it to the end. If he does, fair play. If not, he's going to hope that something miraculous happens for him to get him back into contention.
Yeah, I was just riding a ball with him in the pit lane. It was a front wing change, so I don't know where he picked up that damage. Maybe it was from an earlier incident. We did kind of flirt around the idea that maybe he had some damage and he was falling back, but yeah, really struggling. He was just kind of plummeting through that train. But what that has done with that little bit of damage has separated the field up as Tech 31 gets down the inside of GMAC at turn number 10, gets the move done on the Mercedes, and Tech 31, having disconnected twice already in this race session, is back up to 9th. So good recovery so far from the AlphaTauri drivers. Got some decent pace on these medium tyres, and next 2 targets for him are the 2 Red Bulls, who, because of that battle with Waitsy, have been a little bit separated from this front battle in the midfield. So the Red Bulls have got a little bit of work to do to try and regain some time and get back into this DRS train in front. But If anything, these first like 5 laps of this race have proven to me it's the hard tyres don't look like that strong of a race tyre, do they? Cam seems to be doing okay at the front of the field, matching his teammate. They're just continuously pulling away, but J-Luke is continuing to fall back. Yarham's fallen back as well. Casper's, of course, already made his mistakes in this race, and Mata, having let Tech 31 through and GMAT through, is really struggling to latch onto the back of this train on these hard compound tyres. So at least for the opening laps of this race, the hards don't look like a great race tyre. So maybe it advantage those that have done well on the hards now and pit later on and go onto the mediums. Maybe they're going to be benefited for it a lot later on in the race. So that'll be something interesting to keep an eye on, those medium runners at the end, and to see what they can do in this race, especially Mata. If he's still down at the back of this train by the time the pit stop starts, he could gain a lot later in the race on a fresh set of mediums. So going to be interesting to see what they can do at that point in the race. But again, I've said it many times already this season, but a race like this always shows me that it's disappointing that we don't see these kind of mixed race strategies more often. It seems that in higher up divisions where the pace gap is a lot closer, everybody just goes for the hard compound tyres and at the start of a race and then switches onto the mediums. I wish we saw more variety, because more variety makes the opening parts of races far more interesting to watch.
Yeah, it does. And to be fair, I have to say, generally in this race, Portugal-wise, it's been very, very clean. I have to say, the drivers were warned to improve the driving standards a little bit, and they got our warning, and it's been really, really impressive. So keep it up, lads, and hopefully it continues for the rest of the race. I think the main errors have been so far has just been people spinning on their own, and Yarham is going to look to see if he's going to go for a move into Toy Vip into turn 5, but J-Luke shuts the door on him quite nicely indeed. J-Luke saying, you're not having any of that. My P3 is still going to be mine, and you're not going to have any slice of that pie. But I know Yarham's going to have something to say about that, but if these two keep squabbling, Ewan's going to have something to say about it, and I have to say Ewan is having a very cracking race. I have to say, apart from obviously the people at the back from like P12 downwards, I think from 1st to 11th, they are really having a decent race so far, still in this train. Obviously, J-Luke, well, not catching up to the top two. They're in a class of their own, but they're still in their mini train. Even Pete's catching up to this train, even though he spun earlier. So it shows that he has got the pace, similar to what he was doing in Hungary as well. So I'm liking that it's a field that is quite close together, apart from the Williams pairing as well. I think it's going to be a battle of who's going to be best of the rest. I'm sure J-Luke will be happy with P3, but Yarham is going to have something to say about that. He's going to go into turn 1 with P3 on his name now. So Yarham doing very well, but J-Luke down the right-hand side on our screen in towards turn 3. Yarham getting a switch back on the left-hand side, covers him off in turn 4. J-Luke is going to have the DRS as well. We got Ewan who is in this as well. J-Luke down the inside, and look at Yarham. Yarham has been caught napping. I think, no, the other way around. Yarham, I think, has shown J-Luke how it's done. J-Luke's made a mistake. Yarham's up to that, I have to say. Solid race between the pair of them. J-Luke made a mistake, though, but at least it didn't cause any carnage there. But this is much better racing than what we saw last week. Good job, guys.
Yeah, really good job there. That was great, clean racing between the two of them. And yeah, J-Luke gave him just enough space, so did Yarham as well. And Yarham was able to get the better traction around the outside of turn number 5. So good move there from Yarham to get back up into the podium after that earlier mistake. So, but now, of course, with that earlier mistake and being back in his train, he's now 7.5 seconds off Cam, and already now close to 10 seconds off the lead, and we're only 9 laps into the race. The Williams pair are over a second a lap faster than the rest of the field. This is a crazy performance from the Williams drivers. We've seen they've had pace all season long, but this is a new level as Ewan is the first person in off these medium tyres on what seems to be a strategy call at the end of lap 8. That is quite early for a set of hard compound tyres. They should get to the end, but yeah, early pit stop there for Ewan. We'll see what he can do on these hards. He'll be in a lot of clean air, but what his pace will be like will be very interesting, because the mediums at this point in the race definitely aren't past their best. They're not going to be that slow. So interesting call there from Ewan. But yeah, out into the track he'll go. It'll take a while to get those hard tyres up to temperature, so he's got to make sure that he keeps his outlap clean. But then he could have a few laps to try and build a gap. So Ewan here still firmly in the fight for a spot on the podium, of course, because right now when he's pitting what, 10 laps earlier than we're going to see the hard runners in. So we've still got 10 laps of Cam, Yarham and J-Luke staying on that same set of tyres. So that's 10 laps that Ewan could build quite a decent gap to them before the end of the race.
Hopefully he knows that other people have been struggling on those hard tyres, but he's probably going to hope that he's proven wrong. Maybe in practice, he liked the hard compounded tyres, which is probably why he was pitting early, I don't know. But yeah, you're right. If I was still on the mediums now, I would stretch the mediums out for as long as you can, and then go on the hards pretty much halfway into the race, because you're putting that decent gap. And then once you're on the hards, it's going to be difficult then for the medium runners the hard runners are going to be on the mediums to catch up. So yeah, if I was Twisted, stay out as long as you can, help your teammate a little bit as well with that buffer. And it's good to have basically a team with different strategies, because they could pretty much be the guinea pig of each other. They can tell the data of the tyres, how the tyres are feeling on certain parts of the circuit, bearing in mind, obviously, the fuel usage will be different. When Cam goes onto the mediums later, they will be on slightly lighter fuel, which means the tyre wear is going to be a lot harder. So, but at least Twisted can give Cam a bit of an idea, and then Cam can give Twisted a bit of an idea as well. And I'm just trying to see if anyone else on split strategies. Doesn't look like it at the moment. We've got two of the Red Bulls on similar strategies, and this is for the first time in a while actually we've seen with the two Red Bulls. So they're both similar on pace at the moment. And we've seen in one race we commentated on this week where two teammates worked together. What are we going to see between these two in this league? Are we going to see them working together, or are they going to be fighting for position?
It's kind of difficult to say really at the moment, because at the moment you've got to say Keza being in 6th place is just, at the moment, just slowly falling further and further away from this fight for 3rd at the moment. So whether Simon Palmer thinks he's got more pace that he can use to try and close in is a question. But again, Simon Palmer doesn't look particularly all over the back of his teammates. So I think Keza here is just at the front of this train trying to push to see if he can close in on the drivers in front, but not really working at the moment, as GMAC is the next person into the pit lane. By the way, on that previous lap, Tech 31 came in for a scheduled pit stop onto the hard compound tyres as well. Not a surprise, I think, having disconnected, of course, earlier on and fallen to the back. Tech 31 is pitting early to try and gain up some of that time he lost. He's definitely got good pace, so another one to keep an eye out on along with his teammate. The two AlphaTauris here going quite aggressively early with their strategies. We'll see where GMAC comes out in relation to them as well. He was behind Juin anyway before the pit stop phase. Juin was in a net P5, so we'll see where GMAC is into relation to Tech 31. Tech 31 is going to be behind on the road, but he will have obviously warmer tyres, and he should get down the inside of the Mercedes easily at turn 2, and he does. There's almost contact between the two. GMAC does swerve to avoid, but they don't make contact. GMAC is down into 12th position, Tech 31 upper place into 11th.
Yeah, I have to say, these guys doing a brilliant job with Tech 31 Racing having the warmer tyres, but I think if GMAC is quicker, he's going to be on the pace straight away. But we're now going to see with these hard tyres how long it takes to warm up, because it is a bit longer around this track than you could expect. There are certain tracks where it warms up a bit quicker, like Hungary, for example, but obviously due to the elevation changes, it's going to be difficult. But we'll have to wait and see. If Tech starts to fall away, then he's probably warmed up his tyres a lot better. As Simon Palmer goes into the pits as well. Kez obviously stays out due to him being in the same team. Oh, and someone this is for a spin. That is Johan. Has had a bit of a moment as he was trying to have a battle with the likes of Kieran and J-Lug. He's down to 6th place. Oh, what a shame. It could have been a nice battle for them. Kieran then on the back of J-Lug. It's great to see these two fighting. And we're starting to see the mediums. You're right, they're not falling off as quickly as we would expect. They're around about the similar pace as we're seeing on the hard compounder tyres. And the track is getting obviously hotter in terms of track temperatures as well. So the mediums have had a little bit more heat. Kieran almost had a bit of a tank slapper in turn 8, but he's okay. Just about saved himself from a bit of a spin. And with the more experience you have, you know when the car is going to unsettle, and you can try and catch it before it's too late. But for some drivers, it's obviously hard to do that if you put obviously too much fossil usage as well. But yeah, Johan was looking so brilliantly this race. He's dropped down to 6th. Maybe he's not liking these tyres, but don't rule him out just yet. He's going to go on mediums, and I think he's going to be quick. But our race leader, he's into the pits earlier than I was expecting.
Yeah, slightly earlier than I was expecting, but I think, again, with the Williams, with the pace they've got, they've really got no challenge in this race at the moment. So I think not a surprise to see him in. I think once he saw that the tyres were starting to go off, he's just started into the pit lane, and that's him off those tyres. So fair play, I think. I'm just keeping an eye on our race director, by the way, on Juin's race times at the moment. Previous lap, he did a 21 flat. I'm just going to see what he can do on this next lap, as we've got Knighton out of the race. Is that on track? Yes, it is. That is a virtual safety. Yeah, virtual safety car. I think the Williams pair will be very happy that that's only a virtual and not a full safety car. But yeah, virtual safety car for Speed United, who's had a rough night tonight, which is a bit of a shame. He couldn't build, unfortunately, on what was a solid showing in Hungary. So no points, sadly, for Speed United tonight. But yeah, interesting. So pit stop there. I think this, if the VSC stays out for long enough, this is a perfect time for Kieran to pit off these medium compound tyres if the VSC stays out until they get to the pit lane. So he could definitely be one to watch. But yeah, Juan 21 flat on that previous lap. I'm going to compare him to see what he was doing in comparison to J-Luke, who's kind of around where Juan was on the racetrack, and of course he's on older tyres. Is J-Luke on that previous lap? J-Luke managed only a 21.4, so there's not really that much of a pace difference even between the old and the new tyres. And just as I was talking about Kieran coming in for an early stop, he's sped onto the virtual safety car and got a drive through. So Kieran's potential shot at a podium has just gone out the window as well. That is a real shame for Kieran, who was having a really strong race.
That is a shame as well. If I was him, I would come in now, but he's got to pit as well for the hard, so he's pretty much going to be right at the back of the field. And the delta around here could be an absolute nightmare. So this is one of those tracks where you can get caught out by the infamous delta glitch, and could be some points of the circuit where I'm green, it's okay, I can carry on with that speed, but there could be some times where you're going at the right speed, but then you're still in the reds, and you're like, hang on, I don't have that long to correct that. And that's probably what Kieran has had right now. And it's a shame because he's looking quicker than J-Luke at the moment. He's trying to get past, and it's a nice battle between the pair of them. But it looks like J-Luke's going to be ahead anyway. All Kieran is going to hope is going to be a safety car, but for the likes of Twisted, who just pitted, he's not going to hope for a safety car. But Kieran then, he's going to try and go for a brave move towards turn 10 and 11, but thinks better of it as they both go down the hill and then up again. It's quite a changeable elevation change there, as I said, changed twice in one sentence. But obviously, it's a lot better showing for Kieran, but it's a shame it's going to get ruined with him obviously going in and to serve his drive-through. So I think, is he going to come in for his drive-through? Yes, he is. What a shame for Kieran. That gives J-Luke some breathing space, luckily. Gives Yarham a chance to go back in his race. And because of that, the racing has sort of died down a little bit. We're in a lull stage at the moment as everyone's finding their groove. But you sometimes get that around Portugal. And you never know, we could see things getting spiced up a little bit, but we don't know. But Kieran, serving his drive-through, you'll have to pit early on as well. But if I was him, stretch out the mediums as long as you can, and then go on to the hards as you see fit.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame for Kieran, especially because around Portimao, the pit lane here is incredibly long, so it is quite a difficult one to have a drive through on. As he's side by side with Juan coming out the pit lane. Juan on those fresh hard compound tyres is going to get the move done around the outside. Crucial for Juan's race that he's managed to get that move done and not get held up by Kieran on those older medium compound tyres. So Juan up into 7th position. One person that did benefit from that VSC, by the way, is Keza. Keza was in the pit lane when the VSC came out, and because of that, he's managed to stay ahead of Tet 31 and drop his teammate by quite a significant margin as well. So Keza has slightly benefited from that virtual safety car. He was the only one in the pits at the time it came out as well. So a little bit of a benefit there for the Red Bull driver. And yeah, now it's going to be interesting to see what the hard runners do and when they come in, where they feed back into this race, and to see where they are. Yarham, obviously, just a note as well, back on that spin for Yarham, he was simply just turned into turn 1 too early and clipped the sausage curb on the inside, and that's what spun him out. There was no contact. It was just hard racing between him, J-Luke, and Kieran at the time. Yeah, wrong place, wrong time. He just hit the curb and spun on his own, which is a real shame for Yarham, but he's not out of it. He'll be back onto the faster compound tyre later on, and he'll have an opportunity to come back at some of the places he's lost. So plenty of opportunity left in this race for Yarham. And if Kieran's anything to go by, Kieran is still going on these medium compound tyres, by the way. He's still going. He's not lost any pace as such. Of course, he's lost some positions because of that drive-through, but he's still not slow. If any of these medium runners wanted to pit in the next couple of laps, they could probably get to the end with some decent pace. These medium tyres have looked a lot better of a race tyre than I was expecting, as further down the field, GMAT tries to get a move done down the inside of Simon Palmer and does the same thing as Yarham and hits too much of the curb and spins on the exit. So GMAT, another one that falls foul of turn number 1.
Yeah, I think it's an easy corner 2 spin, not gonna lie. I thought turn 8 would have caught a lot of drivers out, but it seems to be turn 1, which is very surprising, as Ewan gets past both the McLarens up to 6th place, and Kieran is still gonna... Oh, Yarham's out the race! Yarham is out the race. He binned in turn 8, and what did I say about people not losing it in turn 8? and then Johan just spins it in the wall. And that is good news for Kieran. He could come in, go on a set of hard tyres. It's good news for our top 3 as well. They can go in on a set of mediums. It's pretty much good news for everybody because most people should have a spare set of mediums, lad. We could have everybody on the same strategy and they won't lose out as much. So we'll see what they can do. Twisted is a no-brainer that he'll come in. Yes, he does. I'm almost certain everyone's going to come in for a set of mediums now. So that means Cam is obviously in P1. Jaylu will cross the line in P2. Mata, who started near the back, is going to be in P3. Well, Ewan is going to, I think, be near the front. Oh, Kieran. Kieran has got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That will get added until the end of the race. So you're all in it. We Cam, Jaylu, Ewan, Casper, who decided to stay out. I am questioning Casper's decision because he still needs to pit, I believe. He's going to lose so much time on the safety car. He's going to be near the back. I just don't get Casper's choices. You'll lose more time by staying out than coming in, even with the double stack. So, yeah, a curious decision for Casper if I were him, but, you know, I'm not the strategist.
Yeah, a little bit of a weird call there for Casper, considering he has to pit. So, yeah, not sure why he's decided to do that. If I were Kieran, by the way, if you're listening, by the way, I would come in again if you've got a spare set of medium compound tyres. He only needs to do this one lap on the hards, he'll be fine. So if he's got a spare set of mediums left, he can come back in, get rid of that 5-second penalty and go straight back into the mediums again. So Kieran's definitely not out of it if that's his case. Another one to look out for here is Waitsy, of course. Obviously, after that front wing change, he was down at the back of the field all on his own. So he's now back into this race as well. And yeah, complete shift around. This has played beautifully into Cam's hands. If there were anybody in the field that needs to be aggrieved by this safety car, it's Twisted, because he's gone from looking like the dominant victor tonight. He's now 8th all of a sudden. That's really not played into his favour at all. And that is also such a shame for Yarham as well. Obviously, with Jinx not being here anymore, Yarham was technically 2nd in the championship, and he needed to try and close in on his Williams teammate today if he could. And he can't do that. He's now in the wall. And that's a real shame. He's going to fall further and further back now in the standings. And even with him being further down now, as Casper and Tet31 are in, and Kieran is back in again, as I'd expected, even with Twisted maybe potentially now not winning this race, with Yarham's crash, Twisted is still going to extend his lead in the championship. So Twisted's still got a good opportunity here. But yeah, 6th when he were leading for a long time is not great. And now I worry for Juin and Keza, because they're the only ones that have stayed out on their hard compound tyres. Keza I don't think will be too much of a worry. 5 laps on the hards isn't too bad, but Juin 9 laps in on these hard compound tyres, still with 15 laps to go. I think Juin here is going to be just a bit of a sitting duck. And Mata, what a race! How this has turned his race around. He was at the back of the queue, really struggling to keep up, not having any pace on the hards, really struggling in quali as well.
Simon's out!
Oh, Simon's crashed under the safety car.
He's done a George Russell. He's done a George Russell.
Oh, that is such a shame. That is such a shame for Simon Palmer.
It is. For those of you that are wondering why I said George Russell crashed under safety car. I think was it Imola 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Imola 2020s. But that's a weird place to crash. He must have lost his braking point, certainly. And Simon Palmer, and the man who said he feels like the Red Bulls could be strong. And now he's out. I think he's going to stay in the lobby to help his teammates. They're good friends. And he felt like he was good on the hard compound tyres as well. And yeah, a bit of a shame for Simon. But we're down to 11 runners. And bearing in mind, I forgot to say this actually. I'll talk about it at the end because the safety car's coming in this lap. But basically, if you're in, you'll score points. So if you're near the back and starting to have a bad race towards the end, maybe pit for fastest lap, get those extra points. That could help you a little bit. But Cam, he's got a lot of work to do. I know Jayden's pretty quick around this track. Jayden was also one who's benefited from that safety car restart. He could try and see if he could get past Cam, but knowing the Williams pace in this league, I think he's going to pull away, and he is. And he's already under pressure from Ewan. Ewan, who thought he was going to struggle on the hards, he's doing really well. He almost got past him into turn 1, and he didn't, which was a bit of a shame. And I just had a message from Simon Palmer. He said his brake pedal was gone. That probably explains why the crash in turn 8 was because his brake pedal wasn't working. I hope he gets fixed for the next week as Ewan gets past, holds on to third place for now, but through Torre in towards turn number 5 then. Massa down the left-hand side, still going side by side up the hill towards turn 6 then. With the fresher rubber, it doesn't seem to do Massa any good at the moment, and it's all because that Ewan's been on warmer tyres and managed to get to grips with the hards a bit more, so maybe Ewan is really happy on the hard compounded tyres, which is great to see. Yellow flag, that is Casper, who's dropped down into 11th place, which is a bit of a shame. We've got Twisted and Keza going down the inside. Twisted with the fresher rubber. He's already in this train, so don't rule out Twisted just yet. He can still go on and win this race if he continues the pace that he saw at the beginning of this race as well. So that's great to see. Now, Matto, I've seen him battle with Flexi last season, and that was one of the best battles I've seen all season. So he likes battling around here, and he likes this track. So I think we're going to see something similar here, as he's going to be round number 2 for Matto. DRS will be enabled on lap 21, but here comes Matto then. Is he going to challenge him into turn 1? No, not quite. I think we'll see him go for the move into turn 4, I reckon.
Yeah, I think turn 4, turn 5 is kind of his best opportunities. He's almost into the back of the AlphaTauri at turn 3. He was so late on the brakes, but yeah, Mata trying to get the move done. He's not going to be close enough down towards turn 5, but yeah, great restart from Cam. Already 1.6 seconds up the road. He just burnt a bit of ERS, got the fastest lap, and has dropped them from the DRS. So really great opening lap from Cam. Really smart one as well. It's further down the field. We've got side by side at the back of the field for the final spot in the top 10. Casper, after that little mistake on the previous lap, trying to get back past GMAC and into the top 10, but GMAC's going to try and hold it down the inside at turn 7. No, he decides to back out of it, but he comes back at him at turn 8. Casper runs a little bit wide as well at the same time. They're still side by side as they come out of the corner, but Casper gets the run. Casper's through and into 10th position, so he manages to get that move done. As further up the field, it's a bit of a fight now behind Kezel, who's obviously on his old hards. Waitsy's the next in line to try and get past, but Tet31 and Kieran have both recaught that little train, so they're coming fast as well on those medium compound tyres. Staying up the hards, definitely not the right call, but for some reason in that middle sector, the Master hasn't been able to get close enough to the back of the AlphaTauri of Dewan to get a move done. So Matt has got to try and get a move done here as quickly as he can before he gets potentially swamped by Twisted, who's waiting in the wings behind.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a question of when rather than if for Twisted. I think he has the pace compared to everybody else as well, and he's definitely flying. So, yeah, I think it's going to be, if these two keep squabbling, Twisted is going to get both of them. Meanwhile, Ratesy is going for a brilliant move, but can Keza fight back? The answer to that is maybe. We've got Tet31 Racing that wants to join the party as well. This could be free wide towards Torre Vip then. Down the hill they go. Ooh. There was almost a bit of contact, a bit of banging wheels between the pair of them. And look at this, it was one of the Red Bulls. It's Keza getting the pair of them. But Tech's like, no thank you, I'm going to have this position. I have to say, that was very close to contact, but luckily they didn't. It was a bit close to an incident, but luckily Tech got passed up to sit. There will be some questions raised, but I have to say that looked pretty valid to me, but it definitely could have ended in disaster. But it didn't help that Kez was on those hard tyres. I have to say Ewan is doing the best out of everybody on those hards. He's still in third place, whereas Keza is struggling a little bit. So the man that we were predicting to do well on these hards is not doing well. Oh no! Matsu and Ewan have had a coming together. 5-second penalty for the pair of them. And what did we say? What did we say? That is a shame, as Tet31 Racing gets past both of them now.
Yeah, Tet31 has gone from 8th to 4th in one lap. That is an amazing lap. Always matters. Just no DRS for Mata. He is plummeting down this train, down the pit straight, as everybody just breezes past in a straight line. That was so unlucky for Mata. Dewan just too early on the power spun the car coming out the corner, and Mata was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they both got off the road. That is such a shame, and I'm sure Mata is going to be fairly upset with that penalty. I wouldn't be surprised if that penalty is removed, as Waitsy's going to try and get the move done on Keza down the inside. Can he get it done? Yes, he can, as Tet31's missed the corner at turn 5 and let his teammate back through for some reason. So Dewan's back up into 4th, Tet31 down to 5th, and he's going to body slam the side of the Alfa Romeo there. That wasn't the greatest racing between the two of them, but it's starting to get a little messy again, unfortunately. There was a bit of almost NASCAR side drafting from Tet31 on the previous lap as he was trying to get past Waitsy, but Waitsy at the same time, the corner before, was far too late in his defence at turn 5. So a little bit messy racing between Tet31 and Waitsy. Hopefully they calm it down a little bit, but Dewan's managed to get back past his team and up into 4th. So I don't know if that's a bit of team play or whether Dewan's just simply a lot stronger on these hard compound tyres, but Dewan back up into P4 and still holding a solid position.
He's pulling away. He's pulling away as well. Maybe Tech has being used as a buffer potentially, and probably like, you know what, you're on the hards, you get past me, I'll try and hold these guys up. But I think they're doing it in a much better way to what we saw with the escapades last week, and they're doing it less obviously, which is great to see. They're not breaking the rules anyway, they're not brake checking or anything, which is what we like, and they're just generally good on pace and seeing what they could do as Kieran gets past Kezza, I believe, up to 7th. So those safety car escapades has definitely helped him try and make his way through the field. And Cam, well, and J-Luke, they're pulling away at the moment. Well, Twisted is not catching up the way I would have liked, which I'm quite surprised at the moment. I think the top 4 could pretty much, no, the top 3 will pretty much remain as it is. They're class for the rest of the field. Oh, as Tech's gone off, turn 8. He's done about 3 Bottas of mowing the lawn through there. And I think he just lost it. What a shame. That's promoted Waitsy up. That's promoted Kieran up as well. I'm excited to see these two battle. I've seen Kieran and Waitsy battle before in other leagues. This could get very, very nice, and I can't wait to see those two and what they can do.
Yeah, going to be really interesting. That's a real shame. And and as you say that, Waitsy's gone off now. And Juwan's gone off at the same time. Oh my word, everybody's spinning at turn number 13. That is a really bizarre incident. Juwan spun all on his own, and Waitsy's spun in sympathy, and now all of a sudden, Kieran's in a comfortable 4th place. I think Kieran must think Christmas has come early, because the 3 drivers directly in front of him have all spun within half a lap, and he's now into 4th. So we were saying that safety car's helped him. It's helped him massively. Mata coming back down the inside of Kezza. He's back up into 5th, so if Mata can get that penalty removed, which I'm sure he likely will, then he's still on for a fight for a 4th place finish here. So Mata back up into 5th on the road. Waitsy and Juwan running side by side as they fight for their position further down, but Waitsy holds on to the spot ahead of Juwan this time around, and that's a real shame for well, both of the AlphaTauris. They were running really well today, but 2 spins on the same lap has cost them a really solid result, unfortunately. So they've dropped right down to the back. And yeah, Kieran, from all the incidents that he had earlier on and all the penalties and the drive-throughs, is somehow back into 4th. So Kieran's quite lucky, but this race has played nicely into his favour, and now I think a P4 finish is looking pretty set here for the McLaren driver. Meanwhile, just a note on the front of the field, the gap between Cam and J-Luke is kind of a little bit stagnant. Twisted is ever so slightly closing in on J-Luke by a couple of tenths a lap, but at this rate, it's not quite going to be enough to see if he can make it a Williams 1-2. He needs to find just that little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight with not that long to go. There could be some problems for the drivers that could cause safety cars, but there could be some weather thrown into this as well. The drivers, by the way, haven't told us what the weather's going to be like, but I am expecting to be, I think, dry for the rest of the race, so that's probably why they have gone those medium tyres then. But let's watch the battle between GMAT and Tech 31 Racing then as they go towards the start and finish straight. I'm looking at the ERS usage. GMAT's on 11%, we got Tech on around about 8%, so that's going to be quite crucial. And it's one of those tracks where you use too much very quickly and it's hard to recharge really, and even though there's heavy braking zones, you're not going to be recharging it for very long, so you've got to be saving up for a little bit of the lap as well. And it is more than likely could be a Williams 1-2 before we know it, because gap now to 1.5 seconds. We've got Mata trying to close in on Kieran. I'm just liking these battles right now. I have to say, despite all those spins, Aiden, everyone's trying to still catch up with each other. I think everyone just seems to be very good around this track, and pretty much even ability for most of these drivers.
Yeah, it just seemed to be, doesn't it? I think yeah, most people seem to enjoy this track at the moment. It's a nice close field, which is great to see. And I think the other great thing to see as well is the gap between the 2 compounds of tyres isn't that big, because even though Kezza's only been overtaken for the last 10 or so laps, but he's still running in 6th at the moment, and he's just about to drop out of DRS range. But keep an eye on Kezza's pace. The only place on the track where Kezza is losing to the medium runners in front is the final sector. The rest of the lap he's pretty much matching Kieran and Mata. So there's still a bit of time to go, so Kezza could still come back at these guys. Mata has lost DRS to Kieran on that lap. Kezza's lost DRS to Mata. So Waitsy's now starting to close back in. So it's not over for Waitsy after his spin either. He's still P7 with an opportunity to get a bit further up the field. He's got a bit more pace, so definitely keep an eye on him. And Juwan, again, even on his hard compound tyres that are now 17 laps old and after his spin, he's not out of it either. He's only 1.4 seconds behind Waitsy, so still an opportunity for him to gain some places back. And speaking of gaining places, look at Twisted. He is now on the back of J-Luke. He is well within DRS range. I don't know what's happened on the last couple of laps or so, but J-Luke seems like he's hit maybe a little bit of a cliff on these medium compound tyres, because he's starting to drop quite big time now. The gap between him and Cam is now 3.5 seconds rather than the 2 seconds it was just 2 laps ago. So I fear J-Luke here has maybe pushed really hard in the opening phase of this medium stint to try and keep up with the Williams driver of Cam in front, and then by doing so, he's actually costing himself, and now he's falling back into the hands of the other Williams runner. So if he does lose the second place, though, you can fairly say that J-Luke is very comfortable in third. So either way, I don't think J-Luke's going to be too disappointed.
No, I don't think so too, and I think it's going to be at the battle of the grades, to be honest, because I think J-Luke obviously had a good qualifying, he's had good race pace as well. Twisted started second, but him getting that toe and that brilliant start as well. So I have to say I can't fault these two drivers at all. I think both of them did not make too much mistakes, and that strategy, that safety car did not, well, it phased him a little bit, but you know what? He didn't give up from it, and that's very great to see from a driver. He thought that he was going to do well. People even said in the Tier 1 chat that the Williams are looking quick tonight, and this is definitely proving a point right now. And yeah, I think J-Luke has got to be the Sergio Perez in this situation, going to be defending like mad in the last couple of laps. If he does so, I have to say, that will be, I think, a very strong finish for him. But again, he will take that podium. To be honest, they might not be fighting too much, but for us as the commentators, I really hope they do, to give us, the commentators, something to cheer about as well. But because of these two fighting, gap between them and Cam is now 4.1 seconds. So unless Cam makes a mistake, which I hope he doesn't, touch wood, Cam is looking set to win this race, and what a redemption story we will see for him, because the last two races, absolutely appalling for Cam. So he'll be on the cusp of getting some decent points from this and closing up to his teammate in the championship.
Yeah, it'll be good to see for Cam as well. Like you mentioned, the last few rounds really have been a real struggle ever since his domination in Austria. He's really not shone since. He's made too many mistakes, which is a bit of a shame. And I think Cam is definitely one of those confidence drivers, isn't he? When he's on a high, he starts to perform, and then he'll continue to perform. When he gets on a bit of a low, it seems to kind of play with his head a little bit, and it just seems to sometimes it can kind of dogpile on him, and he gets a little bit frustrated. So I think he's definitely one of those drivers that thrives on having good momentum and being on good form. So tonight could be a really interesting and strong night for Cam, for him, and definitely a boost he'll need in the championship, especially considering a lot of the people in front of him in the championship aren't scoring tonight. So again, big opportunity for Williams here for another at least double podium and a strong result for them to really solidify themselves as the manufacturer to beat. And well, that would be if it was like that in real life, wouldn't it, to see Williams be the manufacturer to beat? We can dream. But yeah, really strong night tonight for Cam. And yes, of course, he was a little bit lucky with the safety car. That obviously played into his favour. But considering how much we saw the hard tyre runners struggle in the opening stint, he was only 2 seconds off his teammate. So you've got to say, and in normal circumstances, it was likely Cam could have still won this race anyway. So Cam's looked really strong tonight, and Twisted has looked strong as well. But I think now is the time, as Twisted is much closer coming out the final corner this time around. And yeah, J-Luke's not going to put up a fight. Twisted is well past before they get to turn one. He timed that one nicely. He didn't want to go for the move when he was too far back. He waited until he was close enough, and he's just breezed past. So Williams now back into a 1-2 position.
I think J-Luke with this league knows that there's some drivers that are quicker than him. He's got the gap very nicely to the cars behind as well. So he would rather take a P3 than try and fight for P2. And my game has just crashed. That is interesting. Is your game fine?
My game is fine, yes.
You'll have to do a bit of radio commentary whilst I get my game fixed.
Yeah, you get your game fixed. Well, actually, while you get your game fixed, I'll just tell you a lovely story right now. The story right now is that GMAC has just spun out of turn 4 and hit the wall and retired, and that's brought out the safety car. So just as your game has crashed, we've got the safety car out.
That's probably why my game's crashed, because of a big crash from the drivers.
Probably, yeah. It's triggered something. But yeah, GMAC, unfortunately, from 10th place has spun out of 10th, and he's out of the race, so won't be scoring any points, which is a bit of a shame. But safety car is out. At the final chance of asking, lap 29 would be the last lap in the race. The safety car could possibly come out, and it has come out. So I think the top three especially are going to be a little bit perplexed by that one, because they had such a gap to the rest of the field. We'll see if anybody pits. I don't think anybody will, bar maybe one of the AlphaTauris at the back of the field. But yeah, top three have stayed out on their medium compound tyres. You would imagine Kieran will stay out as well. I think Mata will likely stay out as well. Actually, no, Kieran's in. Kieran has decided to pit. So Kieran is into the pit lane. Mata's into the pit lane as well. Well, Mata came in to get rid of one 5-second penalty and has accidentally given himself another one by speeding in the pit lane. So real shame for Mata trying to get rid of that penalty, and in doing so has cost himself by giving himself another penalty, which he definitely won't be able to get rid of. So that is a bit of a shame for Mata. That's kind of out of his way. Keza stays out, interestingly, on his hard compound tyres. I'm not quite sure why he's done that, but yeah, Kieran, Juan, Mata, Tet31 and Casper all in for a set of the soft compound tyres. So these it should be 2 laps to the end of this race, bearing on when these guys catch the safety car, but 2 laps left of racing, no DRS, top 3 all on old mediums, Keza in 5th on very old hards, and then the rest of them on softs. That's going to be a pretty interesting end to the race. So I do fear for Keza here that he is just going to plummet down the field.
Ladies and gentlemen, good news. I'm back in the session. I'm back in the lobby. That was luckily with PS5, by the way. It's not like PS4 where you need backup invites. You don't really need backup invites on PS5. As long as the host is still in the lobby, you can just join off that. So that's great. So I'm in anyway, and I'm kind of glad that a safety car has happened, because otherwise I would have pretty much missed all of that. So yeah, and this is a mixed strategy that we were talking about. We were hoping this could happen, and it's happened, and I think it's anyone's game, to be honest. We've got a mixture of people on softs, a mixture of people on the mediums, one person on the hards. I don't know who's going to win this race, and it's going to be even more exciting. Let us know your thoughts in the chat, by the way, on who you think is going to win this race, because I don't have a clue. As yeah, I think Keza's going to struggle, but everyone else is going to be fair game. We've seen in real life, remember, people on the soft tyres in Monaco as well, and even Daniel Ricciardo with a broken engine. And on, no, it was Lewis Hamilton on Max Verstappen, that was it. Lewis Hamilton on Max Verstappen, I can't remember which year it was. Lewis Hamilton was on really old mediums. Max was on fresh softs, I believe. And Max Verstappen just couldn't get past, and Lewis still ended up winning that race. So I think we could see the same situation here. Cam's going to hope that... Well, he's in a better ideal scenario at the moment. The safety car... There's going to be no DRS either. So he's going to hope this teammate is going to help him as well. J-Luke and Ratesy, if they can keep it clean, they're going to try and stop the soft runners from going in. I don't know what I would do. To be fair, with late safety cars, for me, I always put on the soft, because if I don't go onto the soft tyres, I always end up spinning, because people on the softs could get past me and try to pump me into a wall. So, yeah, if I was any of these drivers, I would have come in, but I understand why some of the people stayed out. But they're all heading towards turn 8 now. I'm a bit worried for Mata and Casper. They're not going to catch up to the safety car, but, well, Casper's not going to catch up, I'm almost certain, but Mata might. We'll see. It has to come in this lap. It's got to have at least 2 green flag racing on this game. And here we are. Safety car's in this lap.
Yeah, safety car in. It's going to be interesting now to see what these soft runners can do. I'm of the same mind. I think if it was this late in the race, I think it depends on where I was. If I was the top 3, I would have stayed out like they have done. But anybody else, I would have come in for a pit stop onto the soft compound tyres. So you always prefer to be the aggressor rather than the defender. It's always the better position to be in. So we'll keep an eye on what the soft runners can do. Cam will lead them to the green flag. We'll see what Twisted can do, whether he can keep up. Cam, interestingly, keeping up quite a high speed at the safety car restart. He's not dropped that far off the safety car itself. So trying to space them out a bit more, not keep them so bunched up, and I think they've gone now. Yes, they have. J-Luke's not reacted to it very well. J-Luke has really not reacted to the restart well. Waits is all over the back, and here come the soft runners as well. Kieran's onto the back of this as well. The 2 Williams are fighting for the lead almost, but Cam holds onto it, and Waitsy almost past J-Luke, but not quite.
There we go. This is a fight that we are looking for as well. Cam is absolutely flooring it, and Kieran down the inside of Keza, who's struggling on those hard tyres. He's loving life, and he's up to 5th. Now his next charge is going to be for Ratesy now, but Ratesy all over the back of Jalen. It's 3 wide, heading towards Tory Vit then. Tet31 Racing is back in this as well down the inside of Keza. Him staying on those hard tyres for Keza is not the best decision at all, and he's regretting it, but at least he's going to get some points out of all of this. Too late for him to get past lap as well. Ewan down the inside of him now, but Keza's going to fight back into turn 8. It's an incredible racing up the hill towards turn 9, 10 and 11. Oh, they've been pushed off the circuit. Oh, Keza, be careful. Luckily, it wasn't an unsafe rejoin, but it was very close. Matt is back in this as well, down the inside of Keza. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my voice at the end of this, but this is absolutely crazy. Kieran now going to try and go around the outside of Waitsy into the final few corners. It's allowing the top 3 just to run away with it. And I was right in that sense. The soft runners are scrobbling, Whereas the top three are just like, you know what, you guys can keep squabbling and fight for the victory. J-Luke's out of DRS, by the way, to the Williams, so it's going to be a Williams 1-2 at this rate. But I think J-Luke will be happy with P3 as Tech 31 Racing gets down the inside of Waitsy there. But Waitsy's going to fight back potentially into turn 3. Oh, this could end in tears, but it does not, luckily. Ewan is as well. Waitsy's in that AlphaTauri sandwich, as it were, with that ERS management. They're all pretty much losing a lot of ERS already, so that just shows how long. I'm on the final lap already. It's just gone so quickly at the moment. But yeah, I was right that the top 3 did the right thing staying on those mediums.
They definitely have, but J-Luke under big pressure here from Kieran. Kieran's going to try and steal that final spot on the podium away from J-Luke at the end of this race, and there was opportunities in this final sector to get the move done if he's close enough. So J-Luke clinging on to that final spot on the podium. The Williams at fine as Dewin gets past Waitsy as well and up into 6th. But Kieran here is going to have an opportunity down the inside at turn number 12. He sends it down the inside. J-Luke gives him the space, but Kieran too early on the power on the exit, loses the rear, and I think that may have just saved J-Luke a spot on the podium.
Yeah, that definitely did, but we're going to go on board with Cam then, as he's never put a foot wrong in his race, got it on pole. Don't celebrate too early, because you could lose that win, but he doesn't lose that win. He wins in Portugal. It's a Williams 1-2. J-Luke in 3rd, his best result of the season as reserve, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, great job for him. Kieran, his safety car worked well in his favour. He's in 4th, Tech in 5th, Ewan in 6th, Waitsy in 7th, Mata in 8th, Keza in 9th, and Casper, Casper? He's not crossed the line. He's ghosted. Casper?
Yeah, he's
Hello?
I think he's having a bit of a nap before we get going again, and there we go.
There we go. He's done it on purpose, Aiden, you see? He's done it on purpose.
He just wanted a bit of screen time at the end. He had a bit of a rough race, so he wanted a little bit of screen time at the end. But, yeah, still crosses the line, and he gets driver of the day for it. There you go. Well done, Casper. That little stop at the end gets you driver of the day.
Well, he's starting near the back, not going to lie. So if you start near the back and finish where you are, of course you're going to get driver of the day. But we may as well go through your order then. Well, it looked like the top 2 remained unchanged and had a boring race, but it was far from it. It was a fantastic race. This is why I like commentating on Portugal, full stop, and it's one of my favourite tracks to race on as well. So yeah, in my top track, I have to say, on this game, both commentary-wise and racing-wise. I hope it goes back in real life as well. Shame it's not replacing China, but that's a different conversation for another day. So, Cam from Twisted, from J-Luke, from Kieran, from Tech, from Ewan, Waitsy, Mata, Keza, Casper gets a fast lap point. So he gets the same point as Keza, so that's good news. Then we've got GMAT, who's retired, same with Simon Palmer, Yarham, and Speed 9ton. Shame we didn't have a tier 2 stream, because I was about to tell you what the results for the tier 2 stream were, but there was no stream. But the ones who usually watch tier 2, I hope you enjoyed the tier 1 stream. I hope it was a really good watch. But yeah, that was fun, and a lot better racing standard than last week.
Yeah, definitely a lot better racing standards than it was last week. Maybe a few things to report here and there, but that's kind of standard practice with league racing. So yeah, pretty happy to see a bit of an improvement and good racing as well. But yet again, that Williams pair looks so strong, doesn't it? They look strong all season long, even if they haven't always got the results they would have wanted. But yeah, they just look like the dominant force in this league at the moment. Nobody really seems to be able to come close to them. So I think the second half of the season now is going to be all about who can catch Twisted in this championship. I think even Cam, with today's race, he was so far back coming into this one that the second half of the season is just going to be about if anybody can they catch Twisted. And the only person that was within a race wins points gap of the championship leader crashed tonight. So yeah, it's going to be difficult for the rest of this championship to try and see if they can then top all the Williams in the second half of the season.
Yeah, so close, but so far. He was the runner-up last season, Cam. I don't think he would like to be the runner-up again, but yeah. So no racing next week. We are on a break week, so don't tune in next week. You won't see a stream, so don't be disappointed. But we'll be back in just 14 days' time for the Australian Grand Prix. And we talked about that a bit earlier on as well. Australia is always good, usually a start of a calendar as well in VSL, but not anymore. New track, new updated layout as well. Can cause a bit of carnage. I pray there's no major incidents here and there, but with the extra week practice, maybe it gives them a chance to improve on their skills a bit more and see what they can do. Hopefully we'll have a better turnout next week, well, in 2 weeks as well.
Fingers crossed, yeah, and I think, like you say, 2 weeks for a track like Australia, I think will be good for some of these drivers. I think Australia's a difficult circuit, and even with the new changes, it's made it a lot more difficult, I think. And so, yeah, it's going to be an interesting race as Australia. I think potentially a race of attrition. We've seen it in the past where Australia, even when it was a much slower track, Australia was very difficult and people found it difficult to keep it out of the walls. It's now, of course, a much faster track, and in turn you have to run less downforce. And on a track like Australia, where you run less downforce with the aggressive bumps and the curbs, you're going to see spins and crashes. So I think Australia is definitely going to be a bit of an interesting race next time out. So maybe a bit of a race of attrition, race of survival, and we might see some different people come out on top, and kind of similar to what we saw in Miami this year. So, and of course we saw some different people running at the front of the Miami race, like GMAC and all that kind of stuff, who were having really solid races. So yeah, going to be interesting to see who comes out on top in Australia in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, indeed. Make sure you check out our socials. The link to those are in the description at VSL underscore F1 for Twitter and Instagram. Links to our socials, our personal account is on the screen. So if you want to check us out, give us a follow. Also check out our sponsors as well. We will see you in just under 2 weeks' time for the Australian Grand Prix. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like this video, and enjoy the 2 week break, everybody, because I think we're going to need it. So for myself and Aiden, see you next time. Bye-bye.